and welcome to episode 147 of the Nerds at Large Gaming Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Darby Hammond.
I'm Jeff Mayo.
Jeff, how the hell are you?
Pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good, considering. It's about all you can say at this point.
Yeah.
It's been a rough week, a busy week, but not that bad of a week. We have a little teaser here at the end of the beginning of last episode. We fretted for like the fifth time over what the hell we're gonna do for episode 150, and I'm happy to tell you we got it.
We got it.
Oh, we got it. Not gonna tell you what it is, but we got it.
But here's the unfortunate thing, Darby, because I kept on forgetting the number of podcasts we're recording this week. 150 does land the podcast that we'd be recording right after the Microsoft presentation, the rumored Microsoft presentation,
which is unfortunate. So our special thing might end up being like a side, 150 part 2 type thing. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Look for something fun in the pipeline.
Yeah,
like just a fun, fun project in the pipeline, in some way, shape, or form. But other things before we get into our podcast here. This is the second week I'm pimping this, but it was such a damn good video. I feel like I kind of have to. We were guests on Respawn Aim Fire's Last of Us Part 2 Spoilercast. It is over the Respawn Aim Fire podcast feed and on their YouTube channel and I guess Twitch channel, all those other things. It was me, Jeff, and a whole bunch of other people. There were 6 people on the call, and it was so great to just have like a good, reasonable conversation about this game. We all loved it. So I guess if you have to brace yourself for positivity, it's coming your way.
I gotta do that every day.
So definitely go check that out. That was legitimately one of the most fun things I think we've ever recorded. It was really, really good, and we really want to do more things with all of those cast
lovely
of people. Lovely, lovely, beautiful people. Other than that, we also very soon, Jeff, when is it? Ubisoft?
Next on Sunday on the 12th, a week from today. I can't remember the exact time. It might be like at 4 p.m. Eastern time. I'll try to look at that real quick.
Well, me and Jeff will both be off work, so we are planning right now to stream our reactions at twitch.tv/nerds@large-gaming. And isn't it called Ubisoft Forward?
Yeah, it is.
Ubisoft Forward. We're going to be reacting to that. Probably some Watch Dogs, maybe some Gods and Monsters with a new name. Who knows what the hell else?
Yeah.
Far Cry.
Yeah, 3 p.m. Eastern time is when that is going down. At least me and Darby will be here. Yeah, like Darby said, Watch Dogs, whatever God and Monster is, Far Cry. Seen some Assassin's Creed Valhalla, even though we've already seen some of it, which we will get to later. I'm curious if we'll see Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah, wouldn't get your hopes up too high, but there's a chance.
Hey. I think we could possibly see another off-screen 5-second gameplay shot.
See another video of this dev's computer screen while he's drinking his coffee.
Yeah. So I will say, as far as that goes, part of me is kind of, especially at this point with how ambitious that project seems to be, kind of happy it's just going to be a straight-up next-gen game, it looks like.
Yeah. Oh, have they said that straight up?
I'm assuming so at this point. I guess it could still be cross-gen depending when it comes out, but at least, at the very least, I can play it on next-gen consoles without question.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So that will be nice.
And only other thing is episode 4 of Settle It is currently out right now. We dip back into the Smash well because we just can't stay away. But Min Min is here, and it's a Min Min, all about Min Min, the entire thing. Yep. So
Min Min for the win-win.
Min Min for the win-win. Arms, feel free to take Nintendo. Feel free to take that tagline. Go ahead.
Yeah, something that I obviously completely made up and did not read someone else say on the internet.
Shh, Jeff, just shh. They don't know. They don't know. So yeah, go check that out. I really love that series. Love where it's going. So check that out.
Yep, he loves where Smash is going.
Yeah, Jeff, I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Smash is pretty cool. I know that's a really hot take. That's like I'm really out here, but I think Smash is some pretty cool video game. Yeah. Speaking of really cool video games, Jeff, we are about to do our last week of quarantine recommendation games. It's been a few weeks since we've done one because a bunch of different things happening. But me and Jeff, the last few weeks, we've been presenting games that we think would be good to play during this quarantine time when you have a lot of time on your hands. At the start of this quarantine rec thing, I was worrying maybe this will stop being relevant. Looks like this is not going to stop being relevant for a very long time. Everyone's still quarantining, so still very relevant. But this is going to be the last week, at least for right now. We might do it again in the future. But we're going to have on our Twitter, you can see the full list of games, and I'll read them off at the end of this. So definitely go check those out. And Jeff, you wanna start us out with your quarantine recommendation game?
So you go first.
Okay.
I got mine, but
okay. All right. Well, I will go first, and mine is Fable 2.
Nice.
Not that big of a surprise for me because I am such a big Fable fan, and obviously Fable's on the brain, hoping that Fable 4 is coming out. But I legitimately do think that Fable 2 is a phenomenal RPG that everyone should play, but also specifically in quarantine time, the humor and just the wit and the jolliness and the kind of brightness or whatever of Fable, I feel like would go down super smooth to someone right now. It is, it's a fantasy RPG thing that kind of has a normal fantasy RPG setting, but it has a lot of things that make it unique. And one of those is that it has such dry British humor. It's a very British game. And even every item description for every weapon or a roll of cheese or something is just has some funny witty thing in it. It's wild. I get every mundane object I read the description for, and it's really cool.
I've been wanting to play a Fable because I watch you play plenty of it, and obviously I have access to all those games at this point.
Yeah, I guess so. Fable 2 is Fable 2.
I think you
might be able to play Fable 2 backwards compatible on Xbox.
Yeah,
it's not there's no way to play it on PC, which is BS. So you can play the first one on PC, but you can't play Fable 2 or Fable 3.
Maybe I just bought it, and that's what. Let's see.
Obviously, you can play it on 360, so you can pull out a 360, but you probably can play it on the Xbox One.
It is on Game Pass on Xbox One.
Oh, okay.
At the very least.
There you go. I really wish that was on PC.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. But it is everyone should definitely check it out because it has a lot of charm to it, and it has one of the things that I love the most about it is the mechanics and everything are cool, but then the fighting mechanics and everything, but it also is kind of a RPG mixed with almost life sim or Sims type thing or whatever, where there is in this entire world there's wilderness areas, but then there's towns, there's a big city, there's this a bunch of different types of landscapes, and there's houses everywhere that real NPCs live in, and you can buy any house you want. And as the economy in the game is really, really cool because when you start out the game, there's going to be small little shitty apartments with shitty furnishings and everything that you can afford, but then you look at these this mansion district, you go a few blocks over and it's oh, this is where the nobles live and everything. You look at the prices and you're good lord, I'll never be able to afford this. And it goes at a good clip that as you progress through the game, you're able to afford more and more, and you can buy a house, but then you can sell it or rent it out and get more money from that. So you can basically play real estate mogul in the middle of this RPG, which is just a very cool, weird thing.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you, Dario, right here. Something I just kind of realized. Just with everything, again, me watching you play and just everything about that game that I do know, I'm surprised Fable isn't looked more fun, backed on as fondly as a lot of other. There are a group of people like yourself that absolutely, but rightfully so, love the game. But I feel like it's not as big as you would think based on what that game actually does, especially for the time.
Yeah, and that's what I think it gets a lot of shit because there's Peter Molyneux, and especially for Fable 3, he is one of those that is a dreamer, and he we're gonna do all of this crazy stuff because he's basically telling you every idea he has in his head, and then when the game came out, it's still very innovative, but it was missing some of those things. So Fable kind of got this weird reputation of like just lying and being like, you know, short of expectations. But I do think, like you said, like some like the internet at large kind of, because of all that, like lost sight of like the things that it did do. And that's why I love, because like the gaming is so flooded with RPGs that are good, but you know, kind of samey. And there's so many things like in Fable that like no other game has done. Like there's not a direct corollary to a lot of the things that Fable does. And like you can marry any NPC, and like even especially back then when Fable 2 came out, which I mean was early 2000s, there's gay and bisexual characters and stuff. And there are NPCs that you can't romance because they're gay or they're you know, whatever. And you can like, depending on your sexuality, which is really cool.
Yeah, the more I think about it, like especially talking with you, like what Fable is potentially, the potential of a new Fable just excites me. Like, I mean, especially since that's a game I do not need to play the other games to go into. Presumably, what this new one is going to be, and you know, be lost on anything.
Traditionally, there's big. I think with all the Fables, Fable 2 and Fable 3, not quite as much, but every Fable has been. Takes place in the same setting, but it's a time skip. Yeah, like I think Fable 2 is 100 years after Fable 1, and I think Fable 3 is a good bit ahead of Fable 2 and things like that. They're like progressing, and that's the other cool thing is it's fantasy, like wilderness monsters and all that, but it's kind of industrial revolution. So it's a little different. Like when you're in Bowerstone, like the main city, there's like you're seeing like some factories and stuff start to come up, and there's like flintlock pistols and like weird things like that. It's not all just like swords and sorcery, you know, everything like that. So it's a really cool game to just like sink into and just like lose yourself in. And yeah, I do. Obviously, it's an old game. Old game is old. It doesn't look the best, and there's going to be things like the combat, I'm sure, doesn't age completely well. That's why a new Fable, I think, could really be something special.
I'm very curious what that game's gonna look like, and hopefully, in like 3 weeks, we will find out.
So excited.
I'm just gonna say this now. I'm gonna be completely bummed if after all this time, like it's just a teaser trailer with nothing go. Like it doesn't show us or tell us anything. Microsoft for that game, they need to show us something.
Yeah, and you need to hook people because for whatever reason, I mean, Fable is popular, but I've always looked at Fable and been like, this should be way more popular than it is. This should be, you know,
like that should be one of those games where we see everywhere whenever Microsoft is like, like a lot of people are like, okay, this is when we're gonna see Fable. It'd be one of those games. Yeah. Like with Metroid Prime for Nintendo. Even though I think I don't know the numbers. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna assume Fable sold better than Metroid Prime.
Probably, yeah.
Because Metroid games don't have that great of sales.
And Fable was a decently big deal at the time, but it seems like the cultural impact didn't last as long as some of the other ones. And it's a bummer because, like, you know, I think Nintendo and especially PlayStation have gone into the RPG realm and like really had big success. And it's always kind of bummed me out as Microsoft. I'm like, you have Fable right there. You have it right there. Just take advantage of it. You know? But the whole Fable Legends thing kind of just killed Fable. With that game being canned. It was just not a good situation. And Lionhead Studios being shuttered. You know, all that just not great. Not great. But go check that out if you have means of playing it. I have not. I did recently buy Fable 1. I've played a little bit of Fable 1, but not like a ton. I know Fable 1 is a lot more of a just normal RPG. Like I think it doesn't have the real estate or the marrying. You can't make your own character or any of that stuff. I think Fable 2 is where that stuff like really started to go at, like get fleshed out. So that's why like I'm interested to go back and play Fable 1, but I really, I doubt. I'm pretty sure I will not like it nearly as much.
I just had a thought, Darby. I'm just going to throw this out there on camera, potentially. Let me see. How's it not on here?
Endless Fables 2 Frozen Path is what he got. Try the Roman numeral 2? I don't know. Or just type in Fable.
Okay, not too bad. So, Dari, for this, it's like 13 for main. for main story, main plus extra 23, 53 for completionist.
Nice.
I just had a thought, Dari, potentially. We don't have to do this right away, but for the Late to the Party series, what if for me, like, we do a playthrough together and I'm like the main one control, like doing the thing that I haven't played Fable to potentially get it hyped up for the new one.
That could be very fun. Yeah. That could be very, very fun. And
Just
I'd be like, yeah, Jeff, what house what house tickles your fancy? Like, we obviously probably won't be able to go super deep into all that stuff. And it's not like the housing and the marrying and stuff is like insanely deep, which is also what makes me excited for Fable 4. Is like they could take that concept and run with it. Yeah. But yeah, that could be a lot of fun.
So for my quarantine game, the reason I wanted to go second is because this is also what I've been playing thing. And the game I'm going to suggest is a game I haven't finished yet, but I am loving, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition.
I am very excited to talk to you about this game.
Yes. So I got a good bit more time. I played a lot yesterday. A little over 20 hours in, which for a lot of people who probably played just the first edition of Xenoblade, that may not sound like I'm as far as I am, because based on everything I've heard, it takes less time to finish Definitive Edition and do the same amount of things than the regular edition, just because of the quality of life things make, like side quests and all that kind of stuff, and actually knowing where you got to go so much easier, which is a very nice plus, especially since the side quests are pretty mostly the normal like MMO style things, like go here and find this, kill these amount of monsters, so yada yada yada.
They feel very padded, you know, like,
and you need to do them. It's how you get a lot of experience and money.
Yeah, and I hate to start immediately in the, like, one of the few questions I wanted to ask you. I hate to start immediately in the negative thing. We are definitely going to get into like cool things, and even cool things I've noticed about this game. But I do wonder, like, from the outside looking in, when I've heard a lot of people talk about this game at this point, when they talk about the side quests and everything and the quality of life improvements for this one, it does, from the outside looking in, seem kind of like a band-aid that basically kind of like speeds up a bad part of the game rather than like fixing it or something. Does that, do you think that's true? And I'm not even saying that like they should have come in here and chopped and screwed this or whatever, but like it feels like the type of thing that if there was a new Xenoblade game that came out with this, even the improved one, you would probably not be super happy about that, right?
No. I agree with you. Like, even too, for not comparing, they had side quests like this, but they had so many more actual like story side quests or more going on that you didn't really have to do too much of the kind of grindy MMO, mainly MMO style side quests. Where in this game, that's almost all the side quests really are for the most part. Yeah, at least so far, there's very few that are actually seen to story, like much story beyond. I lost my watch.
So it's kind of like it's a relic from when the game was made, and it was probably a bad choice, but at least this game makes you able to like go through that fast enough to where it doesn't drag on you as much.
Yeah, it definitely helps you, but you go through it a lot faster, because again, some of the stuff are just finding this one particular item in this one big area, and at least now the map, it shows you a big exclamation point, hey, this is where a quest item is, and the mini map will show you, hey, here's a monster that's related to a quest. Like, you don't even have to have a certain quest selected. You can, and it'll just give you a dotted line on your map to wherever the monster or items are. But if you don't have that quest selected as your primary side quest, the map will just have exclamation points for everything that's quest related that you need to kill.
Okay.
So I like it's nice, like, and easy enough, honestly, to just go when you're in a town, just accept all the quests you can, and when you go out, just focus killing on the monsters with the exclamation points. Yeah,
which very MMO.
Very MMO. That's the main thing about the Xenoblade games, which turn people off. The Xenoblade games, to varying degrees, are MMO. Like, the combat is straight up like MMO in any of the games. That's not changing. But for Xenoblade, it's more so with the quest structure than the other games, for sure.
Yeah. Which, I mean, for me, looking at it, like, that's not, like, when it comes to side quests, that can definitely be seen as a negative. And I think in some ways, having the single-player RPG have that level of, like, MMO padded type quest feels kind of not great. Because at least in MMOs, you're doing it with friends or doing other things like that. But the good side of that is like when I'm looking at this, like this game reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy 12 to me. Yeah. And when I'm just seeing some of the like the combat system in general, it seems very deep from what I was looking at. You like, I mean, especially with the different characters and everything you're doing, but also just like those environments are just like me just like watching you play a few times. I've been like, wow, okay,
this is a Nintendo game.
this is like, especially being like an older game like that. Yeah. And I know they like up-res things, I'm sure, but I'm sure they didn't expand how big the map was.
Oh, no. Yeah, like, it's pretty much a new coat of paint for everything.
Right. And I think like size and just concept-wise, like the whole idea of this world and just when I'm looking at like waterfalls and things in the distance, it's just, I mean, I honestly do think you being on top of the Titan kind of makes every location feel cooler.
Yeah, like there are a couple times where you just happened to come in and you just saw me looking out in the distance and you just noticed like with that waterfall thing, you could see what we assumed was the Titan's like spine up front. Like, where's that? It's like, oh yeah, we're on his back, so it's probably its spine. Like, oh,
that's just so cool to me. Yeah, it's just really,
and there are
really
times
cool.
when you're just going around that you can just kind of look up and like see its head and all that. Right. And there's some cases where people play Xenoblade, they know this. I might have mentioned this to you. The story is the Titans fought each other and they kind of died. One of them has a sword stuck into the other, so it's kind of like a bridge between the two Titans. At one part, you can kind of see like where they connect, and you can see the other Titan across the way.
That's dope. That's really, really cool. That's
really cool. I mentioned this to you when we were playing it, and it's kind of unfair, but not really. But like there was a day where I literally played the new Pokemon DLC and then went to play Xenoblade, and like it's weird that I was kind of complimenting the Pokemon DLC, but then I go to this, which is 10 years older and just so much more impressive. Like I would love, like all I gotta do is say at some point for a Pokemon game, Monolith Soft designing the world, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I mean, Monolith Salt is like has to be one of the developers that I respect the most for having like really never played their games outside of, I guess, Breath of the Wild, which they were.
Yeah, they probably, I have trouble remembering off the top of my head. There's probably more games that that they've had their teeth synced into, because they help Nintendo out on a lot of projects. Like I've been saying this for a while, and I'll stand by it. Like Monolith Software is an excellent purchase, worth every penny. Probably the best purchase they've had.
And I mean, I think it's a testament that even though like a lot of the Xenoblade, the style of the Xenoblade games are not necessarily my thing, I'm able to look at it like every time I'm able to like look at the world environment and everything. I'm like, I completely get it. Like this is like, this looks, and I would even say like honestly, I've only seen you play like a little bit of it, but I am definitely like, this game looks way more like a game that I might play more than any of the other Xenoblades I've seen you play.
I get that. Yeah. I think what would potentially like a reason for you might potentially would like this one more is it's a lot more simple. Like at least the combat wise, it has the MMO style combat, but it's a lot more simple in a way. Like. For Xenoblade 2, you have a lot more. Like, you have the basics that are here, and then you just have a couple more systems piled on top of it, and it can get a little overwhelming for sure. For X, I'm trying to tell you, it's been a little while since I played that one. I think it's a lot like this one, but you have like there are potential up to like 20 potential party members and stuff. Just the way that game functions, they have a lot of carryover between their move sets. Right. But that's a lot to remember.
There's also stuff even as simple. I only saw like one scene with it or whatever, but Metalface seems like a really cool villain. I mean,
he's great.
It's like the voice acting.
People unironically love that guy.
Good. Yeah,
it's a villain,
and more so than when I watched a few scenes of you playing. I guess it was Chronicles 2 or something, and like just seeing a few dialogue things between people, and I'm like, God, this is just, I can't. Like, this is just too cringy. I can't handle this. And I'm sure maybe this game does that some too. And some of the games I like does it too. But I mean, when I just saw that, I was like that enemy, I feel like I can get behind.
That's what I was kind of getting at. Also compared to that, I think like just the writing and general story of this thing would be more your vibe than the other two for sure.
Right.
And something that I'm really loving is the different characters as far as the playing as them, because I've been switching around between the 6 characters I have so far, and they play so differently.
It's
and
always
just
good.
Messing around with my team comp, because you only have 3 people in at a time, and messing around with that. Like, it's so much fun when you get a new one. It's like, okay, let's see what your moves are. Let's see what all your arts are. And you're like, oh, okay, you can do this. Like, Riki the Nopon, the little fluff ball thing that's in all the Xenoblade games. He's more of a trick character where he has stuff like, he plays dead for a little, and like for 8 seconds, he just fainted. That's like funny. You can't control him or do anything, and it completely takes aggro off of him.
Nice.
And also when he comes back, he heals some.
Nice.
But downside of that is you got one less character for like 8 seconds.
Yeah.
And just kind of, he has a lot of crazy stuff like that with buffs and debuffs and all that kind of stuff. And Shulk's a lot more of a simple character, but he has some very like sometimes that's him being simple, and especially with his Monado arts, he's very important with some bosses. Like when there's a difficult fight with bosses or hordes, I'm like, okay, I gotta have Shulk in here because his Monado arts are just too good and too important for these parts and all that. I did notice though, you know how we were playing and I just happened to get, like, when you were watching me, 4 characters finally, so more than the party. That's like, okay, let's see the experience points. They seem to do the same. There seems to be a little bit of difference because I noticed the one girl who's the healer who I have in my party pretty much at all times because healing is nice. She seems to have more experience at this point than all the other party members.
Oh, okay.
Because I've had her in, but it's very minimal.
Okay.
As far as that goes, which. Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely didn't expect to like have like watching you play this. I kind of expected it to be, you know, super duper not me thing, and maybe not, you know, not completely. Like, I don't know. Like watching it, I felt like even me watching it for the little bit I did was able to like understand a lot more of like, okay, I get why people like really like this game. Like there's. Definitely seems like some cool concepts. Definitely some old concepts that are, you know, outdated or whatever, but also lots of like unique things. Like Monolith Soft just makes like world building, at least like environmental visual world building so
now, I'm continually impressed with the environments that I'm seeing as someone who knew a kind of a decent amount for someone who hadn't really played too much of the original Xenoblade release. And just kind of keep on being impressed with the way the world's built and just kind of different design things and how like good it actually looks. I know it's a big bump up, but the fact that this game in any way, shape, or form was on the Wii is crazy to me. Was also something really cool. I ended up going inside the Titan at some point. I guess I was around its chest area, like its lungs. I think I was able to. I think I'm going back to that area at some point, but I was able to see for a window like I think its heart. It was kind of beating, like its heart there was beating. Like, cool. Yeah. So this game is just continuing to impress me, and I definitely can see it being one of my top JRPGs of all time once I'm done with it. Nice. Just partly because how much I'm loving it so far and where it's continuing to go, and just what I see people saying about how it kind of ramps up and all the crazy stuff.
I've heard people say like the way that the story is paced out is really good, and people talk about like, you know, consistently you get to the end, you're like, oh shit. So I'm excited to see your reaction or your feeling on the story. You know,
and I'm excited to get into the epilogue as well once I am done. Which
I've also heard good things about. Very, very good things.
Yes, and one reason as far as the quarantine game brought this up because it's a new release, and you know it's a modern JRPG classic. Like it's one of the most revered JRPGs of the last like 10 years, maybe besides Persona 5, obviously more. It's up there, but but not really many more. But I feel like potentially with this time, if people stuck inside with quarantine, people might be more okay with the MMO style things, like okay with that kind of pace and doing that kind of stuff because I don't always love it, but sometimes when I'm in the right mindset, that kind of stuff is just kind of chill and just kind of sitting around, relaxing, and just kind of going through that stuff can
totally.
And again, just the environments, the combat. I love the combat for these things, and the story has been really good. Metal Face is. I got a feeling like I don't think I scratched the surface of him, but just like the. I don't know, kind of attitude and aura he kind of just exudes, like, or he makes him one of my favorite, like, Nintendo villains.
It seems like someone who would, like, piss you off, which is in a good way. It'd be like, oh, the asshole. He's like,
and just kind of Brit, like, the English voice acting I just love in this game.
It's really good, I definitely like from the brief bit I have experienced of it, the whole British acting, I like it a whole lot more in this than I do in like Dragon Quest 11. The little bit I've heard of Dragon Quest 11, it's always just like kind of turns me off. It's just like, oh, this just sounds like really exaggerated fake British accents that just don't sound good. But in this one, it feels a lot more natural to me.
See, that was the main bright side of Nintendo of America saying fuck Xenoblade, and Nintendo of Europe being like, we'll give it a chance, and doing the dub.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then we using that dub.
Yeah, that is true. Cause I imagine they're not really British in the Japanese version. Or,
nope.
It's interesting.
And I just love it that what it sounds like the Shulk's English actor just loves playing Shulk.
Nice.
So people were questioning for the epilogue, like, who are they going to get back? Because apparently Melia, one of the main party members who's along with Shulk, like the main part of the epilogue, her actress just became big after Xenoblade. So they were like, is she going to be in? Apparently she is. And people had no doubt Shulk's one because he just loves playing Shulk.
Nice.
And loves Xenoblade.
Nice. He's really feeling it.
Yeah, he's really feeling Xenoblade. Okay, Darby. Let's talk. We talked a little about us playing it, but let's give some more impressions for Min Min in Smash.
The ramen noodles are here. Finally, Sakurai was brave enough to put ramen noodles in Smash.
Yep. The coward. Not enough.
She's really fun.
She is very fun.
She is very fun, yeah.
It's kind of like I ended up playing her. Obviously, we'll have to settle it. Right after that, when Darby and I were just sitting here, I ended up doing the class mode, and then I did the spirit board with her. She's hard to like. I need to get used to her because it's a completely different mindset than any other Smash characters, and I love it. I love that after all this, after all these characters, all this time, Sakurai's still like.
Surprising us.
Yeah, let's do completely unique things. Let's twist these characters on his head.
I mean, I haven't. This is very early takes because I really, honestly, like the Settle It is literally the only time I played her is within that Settle It video. Yeah. But like, I think obviously character wise, I'm not super excited. I mean, I'm not I'm not ARMS. I'm just kind of like tangentially. But as far as just a moveset wise, I think some of the other DLC fighters are more like flashy and stuff, but as far as like just a moveset that I think speaks to me and just looks fun to play, I think she probably has to be up there near the top as far as DLC characters. Like when I just look at her, like as soon as they did like the AB, like doing different like punches, like that's completely different than how you normally use those buttons.
Yeah, and
even like the switching the arms, like I feel like it adds just enough kind of like variety to her kit, but not too much to where it's overwhelming. You quickly get an idea of like, okay, heavy, you have your basically heavy, you have your like striking one, and then you have like an angled one. Yeah. And I could totally see how like pro people are going to like combo those together. I don't know how fast she switches them. Like, could you do it?
It's pretty instant.
Could you do like hit them up in the air and then switch and then hit them again?
I don't see why not. Yeah.
Stuff like that
depending how exactly you did it. No, it's pretty instant. Like, I don't know if you've seen it. Like, have you seen like pro Pokemon trainer gameplay? Like people do combos by switching into them because it was slow in Brawl, but so they made it pretty instant in.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Instant in Ultimate, and it's pretty much the same thing here. It's very quick.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely think like she's simpler than some of the other ones in a good way. Like. Yeah, but definitely not simple. Like she's very different. It's hard to explain, but like I see that and I'm like, I want to play her. Even like Byleth, I'm like, I respect Byleth's moveset, but it doesn't really excite me that much. Like I don't have this drive to go play Byleth that much moveset wise. But Min, I definitely like. I looked at that. I'm like, this looks interesting to me. The whole like she has a sweet spot of distance to go for, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's also something you got to get used to. Is like the distance for all this stuff, like as far as like how hard you're hitting it, if it's like a smash or whatever, and trying to figure all that out.
And a distance fighter that's not like a projectile or something is pretty different for a smash. Yeah, there's a lot of close quarters fighters, but to have someone who can just like really long range.
It was also nice, and a reason why I think it was smart for them to pick Min Min is because in her game, in ARMS, she actually does kicks, and they do that here very well. It helps make her the obvious choice as far as a smash moveset goes, because she does the kick stuff. So she has a little close range. Not great necessarily, but she has that option. And the fact that her up smash reflects projectiles is great.
Very cool. Very cool. But she also, like, I mean, like Sakurai said, if someone's coming at you from like above, you don't have a whole lot to do. Like she seems like she's not like a perfectly balanced character, which is good. Like,
yeah,
I think we have a few too many characters in Smash Bros. That are just like balanced. Like anything you throw at them, they have some answer for it. I like that Min Min is like, she can clear you the hell out on the ground, like in both directions, like super far. But if you jump up and come down at her, you have to like time it just perfectly.
Yeah, that's also kind of exciting because that's an obvious weakness for her. But I can see once people get their hands on her a little bit and just kind of mess around with her kit, that some people can find answers for at least some of the characters. Like, I'm very curious, like, I think Pikachu is going to be hell for her because Pikachu is like one of the top characters, and just what Sakurai described as his weakness, like, that's just Pikachu.
Well, also Jigglypuff too, because just Jigglypuff can get in so many weird angles. I feel like Min Min needs more straight lines, you know? Like,
I think I saw someone mention Little Mac being good. It's like, no, he's on the ground all the time.
Yeah, he won't even be able to get to her. He'll be running at her.
Now, Little Mac's the one that has too many obvious weaknesses, and they just need to fundamentally change someone. I like the idea, but overall, he's not good.
Nah.
Like, he's fun when we're playing and just goofing around in multiplayer Smash, but
he's fun, but you're not going to win. You are at a disadvantage if
you're not going to win against most good players one-on-one.
Yeah,
if they use about any other character.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, Min is I think a fantastic addition to the roster. The stage I'm also really liking. Like, it has hazards there that affect the match and kind of make it more goofy, but nothing too evasive.
I want the record to be known. I'm not completely. I hate items, but I'm not completely against fun and everything. Like, I enjoy like the ARMS style stage is like the perfect stage for me, where it's like, it's like a unique concept, so it's not just a straight line like a lot of other stages are or whatever, but it's also not just complete chaos. It's something that you can use those jump pads to your advantage, like in certain ways. It's not just chaos. You can do it in a certain way. I like that they're not just instant jump. It's like you choose to jump,
and then your jump hurts someone if they're above you, which is fun.
Cool. And then the things at the top have like the arcs at the top. Like, it has a way you can bounce off of them, but it's not like super big hitbox. Like, you can go through them, or you can do them in certain ways. It's like subtle. I'm glad that they didn't add. And then also this crazy thing comes onto the stage and does this. I like the restraint where it's like,
the most random thing is that sometimes bounce pads will come at the bottom left and right of the thing, but even that's not crazy, obviously.
No,
so
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Like, it makes me feel good about the rest of the DLC. Even the characters aren't particularly my favorites, because I do have a feeling this one might be more first party oriented, and we've talked about before. We feel there's not as many first party great options at this point,
right?
But what Sakurai is doing, like, especially with Min, he proved that he's going to keep on doing what he says. That he's going to make creative movesets, and also the stages. Some fun, cool new stages with some new mechanics.
Changing the game with characters and freaking Street of Fighters. I mean, you kidding me?
We got 5 more to go.
Yeah. Hype.
Yep.
All right, Jeffrey. We need to move on to news because we've talked a lot already.
Yep.
But it's a fun one. It's a good one. All right, Jeff. Give me a news.
Jingle, jingle, jangle, Darby. Woo! So, Darby.
We got a juicy one.
We got a couple juicy things, but yeah, let's get into this. This comes from Christopher Dring from GameIndustry.biz. NBA 2K21 will have a recommended price of $69.99 US.
Hold on. Nice.
Yeah. When it launches on PS5 and Xbox Series X this year. That's $10 more than the PS4 and Xbox One version, which has a recommended price of $59.99 US. It's the first hint that the next generation may lead to higher software prices, as development costs are expected to increase with the new machines. The Xbox One and PS4 versions are due on September 4th, and the PS5 and Xbox Series X edition set to launch alongside the new machines later this year. 2K says the more expensive versions have been built from the ground up for next generation consoles. And they're also doing some kind of weird thing where if you buy like the Ultimate Edition for it, you get the Standard Edition.
It's real bad.
Yeah. But who cares about that? I mean, that's not why we're talking about the story.
Because we're not really talking about this to talk about 2K necessarily.
Never.
We want to more talk about the question I'm about to throw to Jeff, which is this 2K being 2K and capitalizing off of insanely popular franchise and just kind of being like, you're gonna be mad, but whatever? Or do you think this is more indicative of what you think the future holds for most new AAA games?
I feel like it's just indicative. Like,
I agree with you.
I feel like if 2K is deciding to go ahead and do this, they have to have some reason to believe that they're not going to be the only ones. Because if they're like the only ones, that makes it look bad.
Well,
but
I also think that even if they had no other reason, even if they did not have any contact with anyone else and they just decided to do this on their own, I do kind of feel like once one does it, it kind of opens the floodgates for more. Because
that too, yeah.
The whole thing is, like, it's been no secret that, like, video game prices were going up and up, but then they stopped at $60. But production costs kept going up and up and up and up and up, way more than that. But the price point stayed at $60 for like freaking 14 or 15 years or whatever.
Yeah, it's like 2005 or something, whenever the Xbox 360 launched.
Like that. And I think most of that, I mean, game companies, no one wanted to be the one. No one wanted to be the one like this. To be the one.
2K wants to be the one.
So,
they'll gladly be the one.
They're fine being the one because Newsflash is still going to sell like a ton. And that's why I do think that regardless of if they have any other information, I do think this will lead to price increase. Maybe not immediately and maybe not across the board, but I do think we're going to start exploring. Like, it's basically going to be, the cap is going to be lifted, where it's like you're not like you can like some games are going to start like pushing that boundary, which obviously as a consumer it sucks, and it probably means less games that like me and you and most people will buy. Not like significantly less games, because it's only $10, but that definitely adds
that adds up, because 6 games means that you paid for like a 7th game with the old pricing.
Right. And it's difficult because like I don't know. It's very hard. It's hard to like pin down, because you can look at it in the argument that it's like, oh, production costs kept going up and up, so this should have happened a long time ago. It's like games should be this expensive or whatever. But at the same time, there's a reason why it stopped at 60, and that's because that was about the limit they like figured that people were probably willing to spend when they buy lots of games. Like, it's not like you can just be like, well, production cost like if we followed production cost, then all games should cost $140. Not many people would be buying your games at $140. No. Like, you would probably make more money selling it at 60 than 140.
I mean, that's not why they've done it after this point.
Right. But it also, that whole incongruity thing or whatever, like the production value going up and the cost doesn't, is exactly why you lead to microtransactions and
and
free-to-play models. And
I'm just going to say this. You poor souls who think this will mean less microtransactions, I'm sorry.
No. It's kind of one of those, like, I mean, the $60 thing led to microtransactions. I do think that is definitely a big part of it, where it's like we are not getting as much of a return on investment because of how high the production costs are. So to make up for that, we are going to do microtransactions. Yeah. But like you said, I don't think that goes the other way back around, because once you have proven that you can do microtransactions and people are going to complain kind of, but not that much, and you can get away with it, you're not putting that genie back in the bottle once they've discovered that.
There will be some people that undoubtedly complain about, this price going up and still have microtransactions, but that will die like by the end of this holiday season.
And I also think the whole $70 thing will be controversial for a while, but I do think
we will quickly get used to it.
You'll fast forward to a year after the consoles come out, and I really don't think people will be talking
at least
about
for AAA games. The thing that I think this really gets messy is for the ones that aren't the big AAA things like 2K or even like the big Sony or Xbox first party games. Like, let's say I don't know if, like, let's use Kena as an example. I don't know if that's what's going to be $60. No. I wouldn't be surprised if it's $60, and I think potentially what we're seeing, it might be worth it. But that game going from like now being like potentially $70 would be a little weird, and I don't see people doing that as much. Like, that would hurt those.
That might be a pushing point where people are like, I was really interested in this, but.
Man, for those kind of games, so it might be where we
just might be one of those,
I just think this will. I think the big AAA ones will probably go along with the $70 thing since now this bottle is going to be opened. I'm just curious to see what happens with the non-really big ones. Like let's say this does happen and Sony does like Horizon for $70. Would Ratchet and Clank be $70? Because people already have this weird stigma with the cartoony games to where the last Ratchet and Clank game, despite being a full game, was $40 at a $40 price point. And this new Ratchet might be the same. I'm kind of doubting it, but
yeah, it definitely feels that's what I kind of in a way, and I don't really know exactly what it looks like because kind of like you were alluding to, the lines are not very clear. Like there's already games right now that every game is just $60. Like Witcher 3, I got like 300 hours of gameplay and craziness out of my $60. There's other games I've paid $60 for that probably weren't really worth. It didn't feel super worth it.
Yeah, and
not that time is everything, but what I'm saying.
Well, it's kind of, we'll have more situations like Resident Evil 3, where people were already like at the $60 price point. This doesn't feel worth it. And while I didn't come out completely against that. Completely agree with them. I've kind of come around to where I see definitely where they're coming from. I was kind of, I ended up, for transparency, I paid $45. Ended up getting it for pre-order stuff.
And something like Link's Awakening.
Yeah, Link's Awakening. Yeah. I was trying to get to once we talked to some going to how Nintendo reactors. I think that's another part of this conversation we can get to.
But where I'm going with this is I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I kind of hope that we just start exploring the price point more. Because I think because right now everything is either like it's a $60 game, it's a $40 game, and then it's like a $20 game. It's kind of
with some 30s mixed in there.
But for the most part, we have kind of rigid, and like we all kind of do the mental thing where we kind of know what that means. Like when there's a 60, 40, and 20, we kind of understand. But then there's some things like Ratchet where it's like, wait, this could have been $60. It was just a full game. It's like so. But I hope that there's kind of more of that. I hope that like some games, like again, I do think Witcher 3 type of game, they could have charged way more than $60 and it still would have been value wise worth what it was charging. Mm-hmm. I hope some games maybe do the 70, but then I just hope we experiment around with it. Like Crash Bandicoot, maybe that's like a lower price point, or maybe this is something else as high. It's just
Well, I'm letting you right now. Crash is $60. They've already said so.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I hope we do that also because if every new game is $70, that is gonna severely impact, I think, a lot of people's purchasing decisions. There's gonna be a lot of people where it's like, I normally play like almost all the big AAA games that come out every year, where it's gonna probably get to be like, okay, I'm only gonna play 2 games of the first half of the year. Because I just can't afford to buy 4 full price the games. Like I really do think that will start to happen with something.
Well, I think I know what's probably going to happen. 50 is going to be the new 40.
Yeah, probably.
Like the Ratchet and Clanks of the world or whatever. Like it's like $40. That's nice. When we're like $50. Oh yeah, it's only $10 less than what we were paying for the big ones. But
you're probably right. Yeah,
it's probably what's going to happen. Like just everything for them. Besides indie games, I really don't think indie games are really going to change that much. No. Because as long as they still like feel like they're doing good with like the general $30 price point, they'll probably stay there because that just makes them look more appealing. Like for some people, getting Hollow Knight for like $20 is more appealing than buying some of these AAA games for $70.
Yeah.
That'll go from like a $40 difference to a $50 difference, which is almost the price of what they were originally paying for these games.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It feels like this is just not even something we were able to entertain before because just no one went past the 60. It was this like unspoken agreement. Yeah. That is just what it was. So now that you have the first one to take that step, I have a hard time feeling they're going to be the only one. Yeah. Or that it's going to be like just the sports games are $70 for some reason.
Yeah. Now, also, we can kind of talk about it. You brought up Link's Awakening. What's this mean for Nintendo? Like,
if Nintendo smells money on the table, it might jump.
So I feel like what's going to happen is if the $70 does become the standard, that potentially will not go into effect for Nintendo until the Switch 2 or whatever the hell they do next. I don't think they're going to do mid-generation jumping like everyone else is doing it.
I hope they don't. Yeah, it won't make a whole lot of sense.
I feel like from a business standpoint, that's not a good look. I mean, potentially for them, it's not going to be a good look anyway. But doing it mid-generation would not would not be good.
No.
And like you were saying with Link's Awakening in particular, and there are other examples for Nintendo games where people like were questioning if those games should be $60. It didn't matter because those games still sold millions, but
Right.
I think it's a good.
There's also the sucky thing, like with Xbox, it might make somewhat more sense if this split happens, because also the other part of the story is that the current gen ones are $60. It's the next gen one that's higher up. With Xbox, they're going for a lot more of this. You can play it anywhere on both systems or whatever. PlayStation, there's already a bunch of games that are announced that are exclusive for PS5. Like, there's no way for you to play it on PS4. So it's not exactly like a PC. Like in the PC, it's like you can play some games slightly above your PC station and just deal with some problems or whatever. It's not like you really do that with PS4 or whatever. So if like the next generation is just a whole lot more expensive, especially even if the box is like $600, there'll probably be a lot of people that's like, all right, I guess I'll see you in 5 years when it's cheaper or something, you know. And there might,
I mean, yeah, especially with the next gen, if they come out of the gate with all the big games being 70, that definitely affect our purchasing decisions.
Oh yeah,
right out the gate, because the $600 is already going to be a lot.
Yeah, it is. There's probably going to be like 1 or 2 launch games maybe, but that's just it gets too expensive if you go for much more than that. Basically, just play all your games 2.5 years after they come out. Like right now, you should be playing 2017's games, and then you'll be perfectly fine. Everything will be cheap for you. You'll still be playing great games, and just yeah.
Unless you're playing Nintendo games, then you might as well get them day one because they don't go down in price.
Yeah, Switch is
that's how I'm easily able to justify getting all these Nintendo games day one.
Yeah. I was gonna say Switch has actually been having a lot more like Switch sales than I think they have in any other like platform they have, but it's always the third parties on sales, and it's never the Nintendo games.
You occasionally see like Breath of the Wild and like Mario and Mario Kart and stuff for like $40, but it doesn't go below that.
Yeah. All right, we need to move on.
Darby, we're about to get real.
We'll get real for a minute.
Oh, we're real. This comes from Matt Kim from IGN. In a statement to IGN, EVO announced that effective immediately, Joe Queller, aka The Wiz, will no longer be involved with EVO in any capacity, and EVO Online is canceled. The esports organizers named Tony Cannon as the acting CEO. There's a statement in IGN. I'm not going to go and read it all. I'm sure most people already heard this. Yeah. EVO is canceled because there are a lot of allegations against Joey that he just came out and said were true, and they're not good. So, yeah. Well, and also surround this, I'm not going to go ahead and name a whole bunch of names, and we can kind of add this to the conversation, but just in the fighting game community in general, and particularly the Smash community, there are loads of allegations that have come out and have receipts and all that kind of stuff. Like,
it's been a complete reckoning.
Again, Smash in particular is imploding right now. It's crazy.
Big names. And
yes.
Things, you know, even I don't even follow any of this stuff, and it's a lot of people. It's like, oh shit, I know them, you know.
And it's still developing. Apparently, there's like one guy's particular house where multiple of these allegations, like all this stuff took place, and he's just kind of being like, I didn't know this stuff was happening. Yeah. So yeah.
It's I feel so freaking bad for just all the people who are going to compete in this EVO Online and the games, like especially like them's fighting herds and stuff like that. This was probably going to be a really cool opportunity for them, and I don't know, I'm split because it does suck to kind of feel like, I'm sure a lot of those other people probably feel like they're being punished because of the bad actions of this guy and other people like that. But also at the same time, I understand while like right now you're still trying to separate from him, not wanting to.
Well, yeah, I also want to throw out there, if I'm not mistaken, that was starting like now. Like it was going to go on now because it was like a month and a half thing. Yeah. The first weekend was going to happen now. It may not look good that after all this, you still kind of just go ahead like right after it happened.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. NetherRealm had already straight up pulled out. I think
not just them. So like Bandai Namco put out, Capcom pulled out. Them Fighting Herds pulled out as well. Like most of the games already pulled out, and like,
It's a real bummer, but it's also, I understand why you're not like that. Would be, I mean, even for the casters and stuff, I'm sure they would be. No one would feel great about like going into this thing and being like, so are we supporting a terrible? Are we supporting some awful shithead, or are we not? Are we like, what's going on?
So
it probably was the smartest thing.
I think this is also the interesting thing. For people who follow EVO and know about it, Joey kind of was EVO in a way. He was the face, like undoubtedly the face. He always there with the announcements and all that kind of stuff. So it's particularly hard to separate those two. So I'm just curious where they even go from here. Like, does EVO kind of stay the way it is, or do they have like some kind of weird brand change, or what do they do?
Or is just some completely other thing rises up or something? I don't know. But
and also just the fighting game community.
Like, how big is the? I know EVO is like prides itself on being like pretty grassroots, but I mean like it is a company that like runs EVO, right? And that is the thing they do or something.
As far as like the EVO company, it's not like some big corporate sponsor type thing that I know of.
I wonder if that company stays together in any way. Like,
I mean, they named Tony Cannon, who, as far as I know, has been there forever as CEO.
Probably will. Yeah, it's going to be very fascinating. I hope they take their time. I hope they don't try to announce something anytime soon. I hope they figure it out, and then like coming into next summer, maybe like you got something.
Yeah, it wouldn't be to next summer. I don't think anyway.
Yep.
They would try to keep that general time slot. But again, just the fighting game community in general is just kind of in a weird place right now with all this stuff. So there's some cultural stuff they just need to, like, everyone needs to figure out.
Right. It seems pretty pervasive. It's not like one side of the community over the other. It just seems like there is just a culture problem all the way around that maybe people just weren't as aware of as they need to be, and that's true for so many industries right now.
Yeah. Well, it sucks with like reading this fighting game stuff. Like, a lot of people did know about all this stuff, but just kind of kept it quiet. And it's like, oh, we might want to try to look into what we need to do with these people.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, and again, going back to the Smash stuff, like that's been the community. I mean, I kind of follow it more than the other ones, but it just seems like in general, the one that's more stuff is just happening in what all this stuff, and a lot of particularly people that are underage, just because there are a lot of underage players for Smash and they just been grouped up with adults or whatever. It's probably wasn't the best idea. That's going to have to change for tournaments and stuff. Now some people already talking about rule change, kind of rule like stuff like separating them, having 18 and older tournament, and then just having the kids league or something, or making.
I mean, that is part of the problem that, like, I mean, I think in Easy Allies, Damiani talked about it a little bit, that like there's a good side to your tournament being kind of separated. It's not like some big Sony, Microsoft, or whatever the hell else, like, or Capcom or anyone like running this tournament. It's a lot more of a grassroots, homegrown thing that just everyone's like casual and cool with each other. There's good sides to that, but then there can be severe lack of accountability. Yeah. And I think EVO has gotten too big, and some of these people have too much power and clout or whatever for there not to be kind of structural regulations and accountability things. Like, I think there's from the vague things I've heard about too many of these stories, it's like, you have to put things in place to protect especially young people in situations like this. Because, I mean, imagine if you are like a young kid and like one of your favorite fighting game people or whatever approaches you for, in this house or doing whatever the hell else, you're going to be excited and you're going to be like, yeah, you're going to think like, I'm going to be mentored or something, something's going to happen or whatever. And you can 100% imagine how, with no other checks and balances and everything like that, how that type of stuff, people can fall into a situation like that because it's someone you admire. And it's
and again, that's unfortunately, like, it seems most of the Smash stories are going with Nintendo right now. Is very happy they've generally kept away from the competitive scene, and if anyone was hoping Nintendo took that is 100% done. There is zero chance of that happening from now on.
There's already been too many articles about sexual assault with min. I'm saying min.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember who did. It might have been Easy Allies or someone, or maybe it was Max, like bringing up like that's why like NetherRealm and Capcom and stuff pulled out like as quick as they did because they didn't want to see that kind of stuff with their characters attached to it. Yeah, Nintendo's hating that right now.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Hating that because their names are being their game is being attached to all this stuff.
Yeah, especially if you're someone more casual, even like me, because I don't really follow the fighting game community that much, but especially like people who really don't follow video games might not really understand the disconnect. They'll be like, "Oh, this thing with Nintendo and NetherRealm and all this thing."
No, a lot of crazy stuff, and I'm a couple other things. Like this, obviously, stuff isn't important in the grand scheme of things, but as far as the companies go, a lot of people announce stuff during EVO. When it's going to happen with that stuff, I guess they'll just drop them at some point in the next couple weeks.
Give them the Keeley.
Give them the Keeley. So
yeah, huge bummer. It's had the EVO basically got canceled twice, but this one felt a lot worse.
I think I saw it and then you showed it to me like Amarin Khan posted like EVO got canceled while EVO Online got canceled. Dang cancel culture. I have no good cheeky segue for this, so let's talk about a Ubisoft game. So Darby, as is tradition with any Ubisoft game, there are leaks.
Oh yeah, no.
Every game.
Has Ubisoft ever had a surprise? I'm pretty sure they have not.
No, not at all. So they got a new Battle Royale. It leaked beforehand, but then they officially revealed stuff. And like any other free-to-play Battle Royale game nowadays, or free-to-play game, they're just like, hey, streamers and shit, play our game beforehand and then talk about it and stream it. Okay, thanks. Let me read you some stuff about it because this is very interesting stuff, Darby. This is from Matt Purslow from IGN. Ubisoft has fully revealed Hyperscape, the first-person shooter battle royale game that has been teased and partially leaked over the last few days. Hyperscape is a free-to-play first-person battle royale coming to PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Ubisoft has targeted summer 2020 release, starting with a short closed technical test on PC that will run July 2nd to 7th. And with more phases to follow in the build-up to release. Set in a VR world called the Hyperspace, the game focuses on a sport called Crown Rush, in which 100 players split into squads to compete for victory. I'm sorry to tell you this, Ubisoft. 100 isn't divisible by 3.
So, shit. We just left that one dude.
He's by himself. You're that one guy.
But if he wins,
you feel like the shit. Wins can be claimed in the usual last team standing manner, or by claiming a crown objective in the final phase of the match and holding on to it for 45 seconds. Unlike most battle royales, Hyperscape's standout feature is that it takes place on an entirely urban map. This city, clearly influenced by Paris, is also littered with jump pads to allow for a fast-paced vertical movement. And something I find very interesting, the game is also connected to Twitch to allow spectators a level of influence over games and earning rewards just by watching. During the technical test, viewers were able to vote on in-game events such as giving all players unlimited ammo. In the full game, viewers will also be able to unlock battle pass progression by watching people stream Hyperscape and even join the squad of their favorite streamers. Streamers love that function. That last function in particular.
That does, legitimately, like, pessimism aside, it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, like, when this thing leaked, one of the things that were leaked was Twitch integration. I was like, I want to know what that is. I'm just curious, just from a...
Like, that could mean anything. It could mean
anything. I want to know, like, I even mentioned, like, influencing gameplay. I'm like, okay, how does this work? So,
like, I think, like, right now, if you, like, come and, like, we have a new Battle Royale, I'm going to be like, okay, when you sit down and be like, what is your pitch? What is your hook? Mm-hmm. And it better be, like, striking. Because, like, you can't just make a good Battle Royale right now. Like, you have to have something that makes you unique. And I would be like, all right, we need to, like, have a game plan for this. You can't just put this out there and expect things to go well. And with that, like, framework, I really do think they're doing this in the right way. It's easy to be pessimistic about a new Battle Royale. But, like, when I watched this, I was like, the fast-paced movement, the verticality of, like, some of the maps and everything about that, the, like, almost like Overwatchy crazy, like, abilities, it definitely kind of seems like it has a different vibe to me than a lot of other battle royales.
Yeah, it's kind of weird and funny that a unique thing, an urban map.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, something that obviously stands out. And honestly, I'm I'd be interested in trying, like, you, me, and Alex trying it, since it's a 3-man squads. Just trying it out for a free-to-play
I feel
thing.
pretty certain that this will go the same way that we were like, hey, Apex Legends looks pretty cool. We played it once, and we'd be like, all right, yeah, this is cool.
Well, Alex ended up playing it a little bit, at least more than us.
A little bit. I don't think he played it a ton, but I mean, that's because he is grinding Overwatch and Valorant till the day
now.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to try this out and see how that. Again, the Twitch thing is the most interesting thing to me, just because if anything, this could influence future like game design as far as this stuff goes.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like,
if this goes really well and it's just like really fun, that could,
I mean, again, like Twitch streamers love that final thing of people can unlock battle pass progression by watching people. So even if they're not paying attention, just like with Valorant, for people to get codes, they'll have it up just to get that progression.
Which at some point someone's going to like figure out that those views aren't real. But I mean, people have that with Facebook still. They'll like have fake numbers basically with Facebook because of like impressions versus engagement.
I mean, I was meaning that Twitch streamers, even if they aren't watching, they're still getting that ad revenue and stuff. So
that's what I mean. Eventually, ad people maybe they'll. I'm saying the advertisers will maybe realize, hey, we don't actually have 3 million people watching this right now. Yeah. We actually.
Be interesting, and this continuing the trend of, as I mentioned, just giving streamers and influencers access to the game beforehand.
Yeah,
and letting the kind of game doing the talking when announcing it. Which, if you are like the last couple times this happened, you're like, oh yeah, it makes sense because it's EA/Riot or whatever. Ubisoft is on that list of developers. Like, it makes sense for them to do this. If you're a big developer and you have this kind of like, especially free to play game, just let it into the influencers/streamers' hands to begin with. That's how you sell these games.
Yeah,
that's just the way it's going to work from now on.
And because like, if you want to make it, your game has to be polished and good anyway. So it should be able to speak for itself with influencers.
You know what'd be crazy, Darby, and exciting if Overwatch 2 did this. They just let they just streamers and influencers just had it for a week or whatever, and they just dropped in. We're like,
I could see that. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
There are crazier things that have happened.
People are already talking about Overwatch 2 being free to play, which I'm not super excited about because probably means a lot more ill.
Then what's the point of them saying if you have Overwatch 1, you get Overwatch 2? I mean, I guess that's technically true, but
yeah.
I don't know if I buy into that completely.
So it might not be. Yeah, you're right. That does kind of like tear that down, doesn't it?
Yeah. Unless they're like, well, technically. They try to do that else for me.
Or maybe, well, okay, sorry. I think what people have been saying, I think you playing the multiplayer will be free to play, but I think the like full content thing with the expansion, like the single player expansion, all the whatever the hell else is coming.
Will be paid or free if you have Overwatch 1.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess so.
I'm going to be playing whatever the hell form it takes. I mean, I'm going to be in there day one. It'll probably be at least me and Alex playing for like 12 hours straight or whatever the fuck.
I'll join you.
Yeah.
Enjoy me some Overwatch.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Talk about that there Summer Game Fest, Demo Fest thingamabob.
Summer Game Mess.
Jeff Grubb Game Mess.
Jeffy Grubb, Jeff.
Jeffy Grubb.
Say his name correctly, or you're off this podcast. Sorry.
It's all about Grubb Snacks. I think that's what he goes by these days. Something to that effect. This comes from Adam Baker from IGN. From July 21st to July 27th, which happens to be around the rumor time of the Xbox presentation, the Summer Game Fest demo event will let Xbox One owners try out over 60 brand new game demos for upcoming unreleased Xbox One games, including Chris Tales. Let's go. Destroy All Humans and Haven.
Haven's everywhere.
Funny enough, I've already played all 3 of those demos. Announced as part of Summer Game Fest by Xbox and Jeff Keighley, this digital event is meant to recreate the experience of trying out upcoming games at events like E3, PAX, and Gamescom. It's important to note, however, that most of these demos will only be available for that week and will not be playable after. The full list of games will be revealed closer to July 21st, but a few of the games have been revealed, including Chris Tales, Destroy All Humans, Haven, Hellpoint, Skatebird, The Veiled Shadow of the Crown, Raji and Ancient Epic, and Welcome to Elk. According to Xbox, there will be somewhere between 75 and 100 games when the dust settles.
So this is really cool concept. Obviously, I'm super down to have more of these, like where people can play like hands-on demos at home rather than just like only journalists at these things or whatever. I'm totally down for that. This particular one, I'm a little skeptical about because of kind of what you just said. All the games that they're promoting right now are games that have already been on all the previous ones of these that we've had like many times. That worries me a little bit. Yeah.
And as far as this game, not having necessarily things that are exciting to us, but I guess the main point of this is all those games that Chris Tales, Destroyer Humans, and Haven, all those were PC demos. They haven't been on console yet. I know that doesn't do anything for us.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, for the general public, the more times, there's probably a lot of people didn't get their hands on the demos previously, and they have another chance to do it. It's just, as far as us having something new to play or new to look at, it might be.
Trying to... Yeah, I guess I was getting another thing mixed up with Hellpoint, but we can look for those games to just kind of see. Give you a chance to try Chris Tales out at least, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely need to try that.
I don't know if I got the demo. I guess I can try to see if it's still available on my thing, but maybe we can try it out later. So yeah, this is the nice cool things. Like I'm liking that Jeff Keighley's kind of keep on trying to partner with Steam and Xbox. Like, there's lots of people play these games, and some of these developers, I know it's not as easy as it might sound / look to make these demos, but I'm sure they're happy that their eyes. I don't know like who with the Haven devs know.
They are like,
I didn't put
hungry devs. I appreciate it.
I didn't put it in here because I didn't have time to look at it. I didn't know if you did the indie announcements for PS4 they did the other day.
Yeah, I didn't see them. But
Haven was in there too.
They are literally at every event that's happened this summer. Which, I mean, again, hats off to you. They are just like going for it.
It's a good looking game too. So.
I'm interested in that game. I'm not completely sold, especially because of how much like flying around empty planets resource gathering I see, but as far as like the characters in the story, I'm very interested in. So this is a cool thing. I hope we see more of these. It's just, again, we're definitely gonna have a main topic coming up like probably towards the end of the summer, just reviewing how this E3 replacement summer has gone. And the biggest criticism I have for this whole thing is just I wish that a lot of these are more consolidated. It's like instead of having a bunch of different like smaller events and demo things that were, especially where we see the same games over and over again, like I honestly wish that they had just let Jeff Keighley man and control the whole thing, because like it would have been a lot more of a polished like this and then this and
this. That Jeff Keighley handled the kind of
the maestro
and let the Sony, Microsofts, and Ubisofts they'll still do their own things.
But all the like, I wish that like the PC Gaming Show, Guerrilla Collective, all the other stuff, I wish they had just been like, all right, Jeff, how do you want to do this? Yeah. Because you needed a swift hand, you needed a strong hand at the top that was like, we're gonna say no to some things. We're not gonna let this game show 5 times in one day or some shit like that. We're gonna make this more polished.
Yep. Time for other news, which I ended up having 8 things in here. So.
Other news.
I'll let Dar decide if he actually wants to put the timestamps for some of these.
Other news.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay, Darby. We thought we were getting it 2 months ago. We've actually since then thought we were getting it next week, our first look. That was wrong, Darby. We got it about a little over an hour ago.
And we should have known that surely the first time we see something is not going to be at a Ubisoft event. That's not how this works. Ubisoft leaks everything. They're a leaky boat.
Yes, they are a very leaky boat. So we saw gameplay. Definitely early-ish cape. Like, not necessarily early, but it's not brand new spanking gameplay. This is an old build for sure.
Definitely can't judge the like you can judge certain things about the game, but you can't judge like the polish and stuff. Like there was literally like a giant fight scene thing where people were just standing around.
Yeah, just kind of standing there like, and then they kind of got him like, oh. Yeah, stuff like that.
You can't judge the polish, but we can judge the things that won't change from now till development and stuff like, I mean, just the general like philosophy of the combat and the open world and like the quest design and all that other stuff. And judging those things, it sure is Assassin's Creed.
Or at least the new kind of Assassin's Creed.
It sure is new Assassin's Creed, which is already its own thing now, because this will be the third game in the new Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
Very Witcher inspired, obviously.
Like the way the video started out, it was just someone writing I can't remember the character's name, the girl version of the main character. I
surely don't know that.
Yeah. Going on a horse in a village, like, man, it's just like The Witcher, just the way the colors are and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It looks pretty.
Yeah, it looks pretty. At least, we can get the idea, like, oh, this looks pretty.
Yeah. It looks expensive.
Yes.
Like, it looks like a big AAA RPG. It's just, these games do very little for me, which... it's kind of weird because I generally like this type of game, but it's like, for me, Assassin's Creed is just such a formulaic, like, there's not a whole lot of room for creativity. It's just kind of, you have the game and you slot in the new setting and do all this, and just all the characters just seem so generic to me, and the combat is like, just doesn't seem like there's a lot of brain. You're not using your brain a lot with it. There's not a lot of strategy to it and everything, which, to be fair, there's not really in Witcher either. Witcher is similar gameplay wise, but Witcher has such a transcendent story that this just, I can't get. I've seen lots of Assassin's Creed gameplay and I don't even remember it. Like, blocks out of my memory because just nothing is memorable to me. And I imagine it sounds like you are like, you feel similarly about them.
Yeah. I'm not really interested in this game. I hope that potentially they might be able to draw me in if they decide to do something different. No, they should. Does anything for me. So,
but I'm sure this will be really cool for a lot of people. A lot of people love those doing so.
Dorian, what else is really cool? That PlayStation Plus lineup.
Yeah, I literally don't even know what the other game is, but Rise of the Tomb Raider.
NBA 2K20!
Oh, that's actually the way bigger game, but we're a bunch of nerds.
Also, Erica, which I've heard good things about. Might be our kind of game. Let's see.
But we're a bunch of nerds here, and I'm just a really big Tomb Raider fan. So Rise of the Tomb Raider is free on PlayStation Plus. We don't need to talk about it that long, but just I enjoy that game a lot.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to slot this in there in other news. We got some new Game Pass game announcements.
Ooh.
Mainly for console, unfortunately.
Boo.
Soul Calibur 6.
Hey, wow. That's a big one. Yeah.
Which we still haven't played the copy I bought a while ago.
Aren't you glad about that?
Yeah. Crosscode.
Oh, play Crosscode 2.
I think that one might be PC too.
I'm like less than halfway through. It's fucking hard. Like, I kind of like fell off.
And Darby, something we might need to stream. Fallout 76.
Yeah, one stream, no further.
Yeah. I need to finally play a Fallout game. I think this is the one.
Judge the entire series off of
I will judge the entire fucking series on this game. And Fallout Shelter. That is what that's my promise to you, dear listener.
We're covering all of our bases here.
Speaking of Fallout, I did not mean to do this. Fallout has a TV show announcement.
Did we talk about this last week? Did we not? Did we just talk about it?
No, that was announced during this past week.
Okay, interesting. I mean, we talked about it
on the Super Mario RPG stream.
Right. Those are mini podcasts anyway.
Yeah. So that's happening. Yeah.
I'm not super interested. I mean, I think it could be good, but I mean, part of it is me just being kind of burnt out on Fallout in general, and just, not really loving where the series went. And part of it is Westworld creators did not really care for Westworld. I mean, like, there was good parts of Westworld, but the general where it ended up going. And
Pete Hines saw that the ending of season 3 is like, I need those guys. And Darby, if you don't know, people hate the end of season. Yeah, apparently I was got interested because Ian and Ben from Easy Allies were talking about they were really liking the beginning, and then it just ended up bad.
I listened to some of their season 3 spoiler mode because I just don't care about spoilers. Yeah. Anyway, I think you could do a good Fallout thing that has, like, it's slightly comedic. It's like comedic, but also kind of serious in this post-apocalyptic thing with the cool music, and the cool, like, Fallout definitely has a vibe and everything that could work. I just really think more likely than not, it's either way too, like, cheesy and corny, or it's just super generic. It just, like, it kind of seems like generic show with some cool Fallout iconography and music, but, like, doesn't really push the needle, I'm interested to see where they go if they like tell the story of one of the games or tell their own anthology. Like I would almost think an anthology thing would be cooler because there's just a lot of cool stories in the Fallout world, or just a new story in general. But
if they don't make the show about the character we create in Fallout 76, what's the point?
No, they need to have an entire episode that is just a dude's like opening drawers and picking up spoons and worthless crap and like scavenging and everything for a full hour.
And then you move the camera and some families like that happens to live there just in the corner in terror, like, what's this, Mama? What's this guy doing in our house? Shh, just be quiet. He hasn't noticed us yet.
Because Fallout's weird. Fallout is so much like there is a really good overarching story, but so much of Fallout is you exploring and finding random things in the world and everything. Like, it's not really a traditional story. Like, it's not like a A, B, C, D story or whatever. It's not. I don't know. We'll see.
You know what game does have a story though, Darby? My Friend Pedro, which is also getting a TV show.
I would argue Fallout has a way more of a story than My Friend Pedro probably does. But
that talking banana. Apparently this is from John Wick people, which I guess is the right way to go if you're going to make a TV show.
It's really crazy though, because My Friend Pedro I don't even think was a very popular game, so it's kind of wild for it to get this show with
it's like it's not popular enough to where I don't know why they need to put the actual branding on it and just make a kind of action-y show. Like what is the name My Friend Pedro actually? Like, what's the draw of that? That you couldn't have done making a completely unique show.
I'm sure there'll be people who watch the show who have absolutely zero clue it was ever a game.
If they want the show to be a success, 99% of the people will have to not play My Friend Pedro.
It's just
bizarre. And I'm being generous there.
I guess video games have made it because even like tiny, unsuccessful indies are getting like big TV shows. I guess we made it.
You know what's also not getting a TV show? Horizon. Because that's going to be on PC starting August 7th.
That game will be awesome on PC.
I think I saw some stuff. Is like you can do crazy stuff with the frame rate and the visuals and all that kind of stuff. How interested are you in potentially?
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, I imagine it'd probably be a sale if Horizon 2 doesn't come out anytime soon type thing.
It would, yeah. I would definitely not buy it for
50.
For 50, which is probably what it would be.
It is.
Probably not for 50, but definitely owning that on my PC at some point, I would definitely be interested in. I think that Horizon on PC is going to make me and a lot of other people just super sad because you'll be able to see. I mean, Sony exclusive games already look incredible, but I think you're going to get to see just how much more incredible they can look on PC. And it's just going to make me sit here and be like, why can't I play the Uncharted games on PC? Because they would look fucking great. Like, I have my brand new crazy PC and I played a little bit of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, a game I've already played on PS4. I'm like, good God, this looks so much better. And it makes me like, why can't I play God of War and Uncharted and Last of Us? Like it's so weird that Sony is pushing graphical fidelity to a crazy extent, but they're doing it on weak hardware. It just seems like a waste. It sucks. Yeah. It sucks. I don't know.
Yeah, I know we talked before, so we're going to go deep now. I'm curious to see what their PC release schedule for Sony is going to be in the future.
God, I hope that it happens faster. Like, I hope that this is a success, and then I hope, like, Uncharted Trilogy, we're doing it. God of War, we're doing it. Like, I hope we start to understand, like, okay, this is how this works. It comes out on PS5, and then like 2 years later it comes out on PC, or a year later it comes out.
I'm curious how that would potentially, if that just became a known fact, how that would influence your purchasing decisions. Like,
if it's a game I don't mind waiting on, I will.
Like, I imagine like Ghost of Tsushima is the level of game and you would potentially wait for.
100%. Yeah, and even like if it wasn't for this podcast, I would definitely do that with like Miles Morales too.
Okay,
because I don't care enough. Like, I wouldn't mind waiting a year and that.
Well, plus with that, you're probably not playing my copy, so. So that is how that is probably going to go. I was also thinking that might be not exciting for you. Just remember when you're watching the Microsoft conference, all that you can play on your PC.
That is why, like, I'm very happy with Microsoft right now. I just wish that,
Fate, whatever you see on Fable, Halo, Psychonauts. No. Devolver Digital has announced a direct for July 11th. Let's go. We will talk about on the podcast. Probably not going to do reactions, but we will talk about the insanity. The fever dream, that whatever the hell that's going to be. Dreams VR. We finally got a date for.
Super dope.
Yep, we're getting that on July 22nd, and the trailer looks dope.
Yeah, I need to watch that trailer.
Yeah.
So you can make things in VR and do all this other crazy stuff?
And
that's awesome.
It looks like there are numerous, I guess, media molecule. I mean, obviously they made stuff for the trailer, so media molecule levels are going to be there. Similarly, Dame 1
could open up a whole another pillar of dreams.
Oh yeah, people are excited for that. I am very excited about that. I've gone back in every once in a while and mess around with some dreams levels and stuff. Yeah. Just go around and play around and stuff. I want to do that more often because it's just a fun thing seeing what people create.
I need to at least do the Arch Dream.
Yeah,
which I still haven't done.
Yep. Oh yeah. I like when we were talking about a couple of days ago about the games that came out this year. I forgot later that I'd even mentioned Resident Evil 3 and Dreams, and just what Arch Stream and Dreams will probably be decently high up on my thing, especially if the VR stuff's good. Like, I am so excited. Sorry. Now we wait a little bit. Now that's a stream. We just do VR levels.
I can't wait to be in a Sonic Vor game. And get
yes! I get to go fast. That's how we get the Sonic VR game. Humanity has peaked, people.
Save me, Jeff. Move. Playing Tail Innocence.
Okay, so we're going to have the last little thing, a little feel-good stuff. A Plague Tale Innocence has sold 1 million copies.
That's surprising and very good.
Yes. I still have it on my PS4. I want to play that.
Yeah, people like that game a lot.
We're probably going to have a little lull and then game releases, so I might try to fit that in.
Yeah.
It's one I really want to give a try, especially since I think they're announcing their next game soon, so I want to be able to get excited for that. I think I saw that rumor. I might be wrong. I think I'm Greedfall. Or maybe it's 2 separate things. I don't know. Darby, it's time for the main topic.
Main topic.
Yeah. So, Darby, I guess you heard of a man called Shawn Layden.
Who's that? I thought he was dead. He's not dead? Knack didn't kill him in the fit of rage?
He did, but then he possessed Knack's body.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So this was the interview with Knack.
Yeah.
Ooh. Heard it from the source.
This comes from Matthew Handrahan from GameIndustry.biz. Former PlayStation executive Knack, aka Shawn Layden, has called for the industry to examine the trend towards bigger and more expensive games, describing the established AAA model as just not sustainable. On the subject of The Last of Us Part 2 being much longer and more expensive to make than the original, Shawn Layden said this, quote, "I don't think that in the next generation you can take those numbers and multiply them by 2 and think that you can grow. I think the industry as a whole needs to sit back and go, all right, what are we building? What's the audience expectation? What is the best way to get our story across and say what we need to say? It's hard for every adventure game to shoot for the 50 to 60 hour gameplay milestone because that's going to be so much more expensive to achieve. And in the end, you may close some interesting creators and their stories out of the market if that's the kind of threshold they have to meet. We have to reevaluate that."
So this was kind of Shawn Layden talking about something that we've known was like a problem for a while with just it's more for AAA than anything else, just games kind of like growing in scope and size and everything. And I think for the prime 2 examples, I think, are Red Dead Redemption 2 and Last of Us Part 2 of just games that have taken over half a decade to make, especially Red Dead's been in development for almost 8 years or something like that. And the labor and everything, and both of those games had controversies with bad labor practices and everything. It's a hard thing for me. It's a hard thing for me to reckon with. But I think both of those games in particular, because I agree completely with what Shawn Layden's saying about that's not really sustainable. Doing what Rockstar did is just not something that the video game industry can keep up with, and maybe even should keep up with that level of just crunching on one game and making it like that. But it's hard for me to reckon that with also I love those games and the amount of stupid, crazy detail that went into those games. While some of it probably could have been pared back, like there's people talk about that a lot with Red Dead and Last of Us 2, with like the rope or something. It's like, did this need to be this crazy? Like you could have dialed this back some. And like I kind of agree, but I also kind of disagree, because I also think all those things pieced together makes those experiences feel so much like higher above anything else I've felt, like that's by the time like after I'd been playing Last of Us Part 2 for a long time, I even went back to Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm like, oh yeah, you really can't do much in this environment, can you? Like this environment is very like static, you know, and everything. I don't know. That's a hard thing for me to wrestle with, So,
I didn't necessarily read it that way, or as far as particularly Last of Us and Red Dead, as far as the statements. I was thinking more like, and not to say I disagree, I agree with everything you just said. He's talking about more like the Assassin's Creed stuff, where it feels like every AAA game needs to be open world that needs to get to this arbitrary, he mentioned it, 50 to 60 hours at least. Like, we have fears that Ghost of Tsushima is going to be doing that just because they feel they have to. Like that is the standard now, and it's kind of unfortunate. It feels like a lot of gamers now are kind of in the mindset of, if you're not doing this open world stuff and it gets to 50, 60 hours, what's the point? You're kind of... Why you're wasting my money here? Come on, you got to do this.
We have still not been able to shake the dollar to time ratio, which I get why that happens, because it's the easiest thing to be like, I got so much hours of entertainment out of this for the same price, or whatever. It's easy. I even said that earlier with Witcher. But
I think the thing is like. For and Ian, I know you'll agree with me with this. People kind of don't do like how much of that time is actually quality like, and not just the simple kind of fetch quest. And are you just having fun with it? Like some stuff like Assassin's Creed, and I'm playing Xenoblade, and obviously I talked about loving it. That's a lot of the kind of needless side quests that if they wanted to tweak some things, could easily take out, or at least not do the abundance of. But thing of, it feels like it has to be in these games to consider good or a game of the year type thing. Like,
that's what, especially when if you look back at the last like 5 years, I would bet you that like all the game of the year's contenders and stuff, and honestly like just the vast majority of popular single player games, obviously multiplayer stuff is its own beast, but the popular single player games, I bet an ungodly percentage of them are the big giant open world like long games.
Actually, for funsies, you continue talking. I'm going to try to pull up Game Awards stuff, and we can kind of get an idea of like how many of those are actually that way for the Game of the Year stuff. Okay, this is what we had for this past year. Sekiro, pretty open world. It's going to be long. Control. That's a
little more linear.
That's more what Layden was kind of saying we need.
Right.
I can't remember if he said it. Like Death Stranding, open world. Yeah. Resident Evil 2. Okay, that's
more like
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
It's its own thing.
Yeah. Outer Worlds. That's an open world thing, but
it was intentionally shorter. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I think this one's going to be a lot more egregious. 2018, and I'll stop here, of course. God of War.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Super yes.
Going against the buck in every way, shape, or form with this stuff. Celeste.
Oh wow, yeah.
Spider-Man, that's the same as God of War with Link and the open world and all that kind of stuff. Monster Hunter World. It's long.
It's very long. Very, very long.
And obviously Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
So a good bit of those are kind of the AAA kind of open world things.
Yeah, and it feels like... And I think Layden kind of like hints at it, like in that quote, maybe even further. It's been like over a week since I read a lot of these quotes and everything, but I think a lot of these AAA developers get to the point where they're thinking like, we have the super talented team and like a bunch of resources. We have to make a giant game. It feels like we're Insomniac. We have to do this. We're Naughty Dog. We have to do this. When it's like, maybe not. You can make a probably better, really good, tight, game in a different way. Which I don't know. It's hard for me to completely wrestle with because I enjoy both. I enjoy sinking into like big games like that.
Let's see. We can I can kind of read this stuff real quick and then we can continue on.
Yeah.
So I read the price thing, so it just goes on to the price point. It's not exactly kind of like we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, Layden kind of touches on the $60 thing also not being completely sustainable.
Yeah.
For like,
and Layden ended with, personally, as an older gamer, I would welcome the return to 20 to 15 hour AAA games. I would finish more games, first of all, and just like a well-edited piece of literature or a movie, looking at the discipline around that could give us tighter, more compelling content. It's something I'd like to see return to in this business, and I don't disagree. Like, as we've kind of talked about with a lot of these games, some of these games being shorter are more appealing to us because we don't have time, and it's just an unfortunate thing for a lot of these games, even the best of these open world games. There's a lot of the padded content and stuff you got to go through that you feel like some of the stuff can be toned down a little bit, even with the best of them. And in fact, a lot of these AAA games are going there. It's like, it's not sustainable.
And a lot of them do make for, again, like insanely long development times, like we've talked about before, just because the scope is just so big and large that it makes, again, it can push bad labor practices when it's like you have such a big scope and it just balloons more and more and more. And it's like, you're doing this, even The Last of Us Part 2, having like an entire guitar thing you can play. It's like, I'm sure that was not easy.
Nope.
There's a lot of things like that but again, there's also like I don't want either of these things to be done in totality, because there's also, I think, video game length can be something that puts it, like, from a storytelling perspective, puts it above film and television and stuff, and does things that it can't do. And like Persona 5 is a great example. Persona 5's length is such a crucial part of it for me. The fact that it is like a 80 to 100 hour RPG, when you get to the end of it, you feel like you have lived with these characters for a long time. Like, it's way more akin to like reading a book or something, where it's like, man, that was so long ago, and you like the character development, you get so much more than like in the context of that game, you get it so much more than if it was like a 15-hour game.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, and Red Dead was the same way. When you think back to like the beginning of you in the camp and everything, you're like, geez, we have come so far.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely don't want it to be all games doing this one way or the other for sure. But I feel like when it's, obviously, particularly when we're talking about the AAA space, there can be a more balance to it than just every game being big. Because a lot of the ones we did talk about from those Game of the Year nominees, a lot of the ones that we can fit into the 12 to 15 hour thing, or around, or the shorter games were like lower budget things like Control or Celeste, or a remake of an old game like Resident Evil 2, which that was obviously the kind of the standard back then as far as looking for non-JRPGs. Right.
And it also goes to our discussions about, like, Sony becoming kind of stagnant with they're making good games, but they keep making realistic third-person action games. I wish that it was more like common for, like, Naughty Dog did. They went from Jak and Daxter to Uncharted to Last of Us. They're kind of progressing more and more into like gritty, realistic, like all this other stuff. I wish it was more normal that like Naughty Dog's last game is going to be a super awesome, polished 3D platformer. They're going to go for something. It's kind of like Insomniac with Ratchet and Clank. Like, that's pretty rare. That's pretty rare for someone like Insomniac was on that same track. Like, honestly, Sucker Punch, Naughty Dog, and Insomniac all were on pretty much the same track of like 3D kid platformers, and then they progressively got like into more like realistic games like that. And Insomniac splitting off and be like, no, we're gonna go make, like, with our AAA budget and expertise and polish, we're gonna make a we're gonna go back and make like a smaller cartoony thing like that. I think that's freaking awesome, and it makes like that Ratchet and Clank game, we're not used to seeing that level of polish out of a game like that, because they're just not made anymore
besides like Nintendo and
stuff like that.
Well, as far as like with that kind of budget, we don't see, besides Nintendo and looking like the new Crash game, like besides those kind of examples, we don't really see it much. Besides this, like, imagine with the kind of budget where it was like Ratchet's getting, I forgot that was Sly with Sucker Punch.
And even Jak and Daxter, if Naughty Dog did branch off and like cut off a team and did like a
Jack, or even if they didn't do it, because I understand for like those two studios in particular, they're different teams than when they made those games. So I get it. It's particularly Naughty Dog. It seems like.
But it was so refreshing to see Ratchet and Clank be like, okay, like we didn't even know what a Ratchet and Clank type game looked like in the modern era because like those games just didn't get that level of polish. That was always reserved for the Spider-Man's, God of War's, Last of Us, Uncharted, all that, whatever. And that was so cool because like you got to see, and you're seeing right now with this new Ratchet and Clank that like that Sony polish right now doesn't have to only be for long, big third-person realistic games. It can,
And Ratchet and Clank was the technical showpiece.
Yeah, so which I love so much. I love that was the showpiece game.
Yeah,
like that honestly sells me more than a gritty realistic thing because it showed like that this new technology can still be applied to that. And I think Layden is right in a lot of ways that we need to be more open to doing that, and like part of that is just the stigma. There's too much of a stigma on going for a more cartoony game, or it doesn't even have to be cartoony, but a smaller game.
Yeah,
because it always has to feel like Last of Us Part 2 has to be twice as big as The Last of Us 1. Ghost of Tsushima, they have to be like, it's such a big map, it's bigger than anything you've ever seen. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it's twice the size of Odyssey. It's like, does it need to be? Does that mean it's better? Like just because it's bigger, does that mean it's
the good
better?
news is Valhalla, I think, is actually smaller than Odyssey. Because that was something I think people who like to complain about that map being too dang big.
Yeah.
Or at least compared to what you can actually do in it.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
That is interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for episode 147 of the Nerds at Large Game Podcast. Make sure you go check out all of our content at youtube.com/nerdsatlarge. Subscribe, like, do all that stuff. Twitch.tv/nerdsatlargegaming is where we do a bunch of streams. We're currently playing Super Mario RPG, getting close to the end of it. So if you want to go back and watch the old videos of that, pretty fun. It's a good
Jump
game.
around and see, like, if you're wondering how we react to certain moments.
Yeah, just like scrub around. Yeah, feel free to just skip it all around there. We definitely had some cool moments.
So I make Boo, I got a new Boo plush, very happy.
Yeah.
Look at him, Darby. He's so happy.
It's so good. I love Boo. I don't know why I love that character so much, but he's like my favorite Mario character. Bleh. Bleh. Yeah, show the people his tongue. Bleh. And until next time. Bye.